I must have been maybe 15 or 16. When I was recording, the very first time I was ever in a professional recording studio, I was maybe 5 or 6, and a classmate of mine's mother was a jingle singer. And she took a group of us, she sang commercial jingles, and she took a group of us to the studio with her to watch the session, and it was amazing. I still remember the song. I won't sing it, but I do remember the song. It was a lottery commercial, and it was her and 2 other women, and it was the most incredible thing I had ever seen. It was dark, and it was exciting, and all the musicians were laughing and joking and high-fiving each other, and it was fantastic. And that was really one of the first times that I thought to myself, I belong here. This is what this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. The first time I held a completed CD was probably obviously with my first album, with the cover art and everything, and I went to the pressing plant and I got to actually see it come off the line, and I got to actually hold it. It was amazing. I remember feeling a real sense of accomplishment, but it wasn't really my accomplishment. I remember, and this sounds really corny, but I remember looking at all the people working in the factory in like lab coats and hairnets, and the whole thing seemed so important. It just seemed like such a, like it was a scientific endeavor. And I remember thinking how amazing it was that all of these people, that this entire other industry was behind this little piece of me that was now going to go out into the world, I was in high school when I did my first professional photo shoot. There was a brilliant photographer located here in Toronto named Dimo Safari, who was shooting, some friends of mine, was shooting their band, and he saw me perform, opening for them, and invited me to his studio for a photo shoot, and I could not believe it. He had just shot Celine Dion's first album cover. I can't remember the name of the record. It was Unison. It was black and white. It was a beautiful black and white shot. And Dimo shot the most beautiful series of black and white photographs that I then took to Kinko's and photocopied and made posters that my dad and I would go around and staple on wooden telephone poles. My very first time on tour, it was not my tour. I think I was probably opening for the Jeff Healey Band at the time. And I also went out with them. One of their background singers got sick, and they called me and asked me to come. And that was the first time I had really been on like a big tour bus, and with lots of people and mayhem and lots of excitement. I think I was maybe 16 or 17. I remember crossing the border into the United States because all the shows were in the US. And I remember being really excited because I had just gotten my passport. I hadn't had a passport. And I remember I got to show my passport, and the border guards came on the bus. And I had to show them my passport. The first music video we shot was for Let It Rain. We shot it in Times Square in New York City, before Times Square had been Disneyfied, which was a whole other experience. And we didn't have any sort of crowd control or set security or anything like that. It was just me and the videographer, and we had a very small crew like we have here, and we just sort of went out in the street where we shot part of it in a doorway of a peep show and part of it on a rooftop. What I mostly remember about it was I remember being in Times Square, and I remember a very small crowd gathered and would applaud after every take. And I remember being on the rooftop, and I could not see because it was high noon and the sun was directly in my face. And the director of photography kept saying, "That's the best shot. It's the best shot. It doesn't matter if you're blind. It's the best shot." So we just kept shooting.